You won't be happy with cars. Isn't that odd? People spend decades of their lives pursuing the fantasy of luxury in our world, longing for that gleaming vehicle, that plush seat, and that roaring engine. However, the satisfaction diminishes as soon as they finally possess it. Why? Because the car doesn't provide the satisfaction you're looking for. The automobile never had it. And until you understand that you're asking a computer to fix a soul condition, every update, model, and luxury will feel meaningless. Why do we want the priciest vehicle? Is transportation the true issue? Obviously not. Although the purpose of a car is to transport you from one location to another, you could get a cheap car for that purpose. What we truly want from the pricey car is prestige, acknowledgement, and evidence of our importance. We want neighbors to be envious, heads to turn, and eyes to enlarge. But take note, the car itself is never the main focus. When you are inside it, it is about the narrative you tell yourself. Furthermore, that narrative is brittle and always has to be verified. It's a straightforward paradox. The more you depend on material possessions to validate your value, the more empty you feel in their absence. That vehicle turns into a disguise that conceals the underlying uneasiness. However, you are immediately thrust back into the same discontent when the excitement wears off or someone drives a quicker, newer, or more dazzling vehicle. This is why the puzzle of happiness cannot be solved by any purchase, no matter how expensive. Because the logo, the horsepower, and the leather don't equate to happiness. It is found in the freedom to live your life without relying on those things to validate your identity. Consider a youngster. A cardboard box can be transformed into a spaceship by a child. If you give them a stick, it turns into a sword. The delight lies in the imagination rather than the item. The vitality of play. Adults lose this somewhere along the line. We forget that happiness originates inward, and we start to think that the pricey version is the only one that works. In an attempt to rekindle the enthusiasm, we purchase watches, vehicles, and clothing. However, enthusiasm wanes. Only when you realize that the car was never the source of happiness at all does playfulness remain. This does not imply that we should ridicule the fancy car or hate wealth. That is an additional trap. Even if you hate luxury, you are still a slave to it because you are chasing it with the same level of intensity. The truth is more nuanced. Take pleasure in the vehicle, experience its power, and drive it, but don't expect more from it than it can provide. It can provide speed, style, and convenience, but cannot bring about love, tranquility, or significance. You will live your entire life in restless pursuit if you mistake one for the other. There is a tale of a rich man who purchased the world's fastest automobile. He proudly drove it, showed it off to his friends, and polished it every day. However, he was restless every night because he imagined that someone was already creating a quicker car elsewhere, and his happiness disappeared in that comparison. You see, you can never be content as long as your happiness is dependent on outperforming others, because the race never stops. The only finish line is death, and you cannot drive there quickly enough. The car will corrode, but unhappiness endures. So where is actual wealth? It is in freedom. The freedom not to be owned by what you own. You can be content whether you own the car or not. Richness is this. However, most people are caught in a vicious circle of desire. They believe that after I have this, I will be content. However, contentment never stops, always just out of grasp. In actuality, contentment has arrived. If you can take a drink of tea, gaze at the sky, and laugh with a buddy, you can stop chasing. These are free extras that are far more luxurious than any car. Have you ever purchased a desired item? Perhaps a phone, a pair of shoes, or some other device instead of an automobile. Recall how thrilling the first day was before it became routine a week later. You changed, not the object. The novelty wore off. The treadmill of desire is this. Because the mind confuses novelty with enjoyment, it desires it. However, the object was never happy. You are conscious of it. You are attentional freshness. You are wealthy without material belongings if you can infuse that freshness into a discussion, a breath, or a stroll. But Alan, are you telling me never to buy nice things? some people will ask. Obviously not. Awareness, not abstinence, is the key. Purchase the car if you want to, but consider it as a tool, a toy, or a momentary rush. Avoid giving it the impossible goal of completing you. You may appreciate it without clinging once you realize this. Your delight comes from within, not from a seat you're sitting on, so it doesn't change whether you're riding in luxury or on a bicycle. That's what real freedom is. This explains why billionaires can grieve over everything and monks can chuckle at nothing. The bank account is not the difference. Desire is the relationship. You're free to play without feeling constrained when you view desire for what it is, a game or a dance. This is also how manifestation ought to be viewed. People believe they need to manifest houses, automobiles, and money. However, drawing things from the cosmos is not what true manifestation is all about. When you link yourself with happiness, creativity, and love, things may come to you, but you won't be dependent on them anymore. That is true abundance. Envision cruising in your brand new vehicle. You feel like you're on top of the world for a moment. Then all of a sudden, a machine that is faster, louder, and newer passes you. Immediately, the happiness fades. Your automobile remained the same. It didn't become any smaller. It didn't slow down. However, a voice whispered inside of you. Theirs is better. Your enjoyment was abruptly taken away. By your own thoughts, not by the other vehicle. Joy will always be at the mercy of someone else's possession as long as it is linked to improvement. This is the never-ending race. It occurs with automobiles, homes, clothing, and even spiritual activities. Being superior number one is what we aim to achieve. But consider it. No one is at peace if everyone is racing. There is never a finish line. Because the game itself is unwinnable. Comparison makes life into a contest in which no one wins. You see, when you drive for other people's approval, you are performing rather than driving. Additionally, performing is draining. The purpose of a road is to go, not to establish your value. What then is real richness? It is the liberty to leave the race, to sip tea without the need for costly tea, to laugh with a friend without the need for a crowd, and to stroll in the rain without worrying about onlookers. Whoever needs the least is the richest, not the one with the greatest possessions. Richness is that, a heart devoid of jealousy, rather than a garage full of automobiles. Furthermore, since this wealth is independent of everything else, it cannot be taken. The paradox is this. A man is richer if he has little but enjoys it to the fullest than if he has everything but is unable to taste it. Compared to a millionaire caught in traffic in a sports car, you can feel more alive with a basic bicycle. Because presence, not stuff, is the true measure of richness. The ordinary becomes exceptional when you're living in the now. A bread loaf turns into a feast. A cathedral is created by the sunset. A stroll turns into a voyage into the infinite. Tell me what kind of car you can get that from. Not at all. However, consciousness can occur at any time. A businessman once worked himself to the bone because he believed that he would be able to unwind after purchasing his ideal vehicle. He admired it, drove it, and purchased it. However, the excitement quickly faded. So he targeted another, and then another. He once noticed a dad laughing with his kids while sitting calmly beneath a tree in a little fishing village. When the businessman inquired, "Don't you want more?" the angler grinned. "I already have everything." The individual with a fleet was wealthier than the one without a car. Many times, simplicity is misinterpreted. People believe it entails sacrificing beauty, living in poverty, and giving up. Absolutely not. To be simple is to completely appreciate what currently exists without adding more layers of desire. It entails savoring your food rather than taking pictures of it, focusing on your friend rather than deciding what to say next. Even the most basic conscious actions are opulent. Being simple is not a deficit. It's lucidity. It's liberty. And you could still like your automobile once you see this. However, you won't be duped into believing it will save you anymore. This independence is strong because, if they come, you may finally appreciate them once you no longer need the automobile, the money, or the approval. You've stopped clinging. Consider two individuals using the same high-end vehicle. One is nervous, worried about scratching, thinking about how other people perceive him, and always comparing. The other is just taking in the scenery, the breeze, and the trip. Who is really wealthy? The same vehicle. Two very distinct realities. Furthermore, the difference lies in the mind rather than the vehicle. The real source of happiness is your viewpoint. Take a time to consider death. Perhaps morbid, but enlightening. Will it matter which car you drove on your last day? Or will it matter to you who loved you, who laughed with you, and who sat next to you? The vehicle ages. The links are still there. Ownership delusions are destroyed by death. You may take the richness of a life well lived with you, but you can't take your garage. Presence, affection, and memories. It's ironic that contemplating death makes life richer now. It demonstrates the ridiculousness of equating happiness with machines that will outlive you. Of course, the reverse is sold in the modern society. Commercials mutter, "This car will make you powerful, desirable, respected." But take note of the trick. It plays on your feelings of insecurity. It markets the remedy for the illness it causes. It first persuades you of your shortcomings. After that, it gives you the item to fix it. The cycle, however, never stops. Because it was marketed to you as a promise rather than a tool. The most costly car does not bring you happiness. Furthermore, promises associated with material belongings are eventually broken. What is the other option then? Have fun. Think of life as a game. If you want to drive the car, but not like a slave holding onto a chain, but like a child playing with a toy. You don't need the toy to complete you when you're playing. When it breaks, you move on and enjoy it for what it is. Imagine having this mindset about everything: money, homes, automobiles, and even relationships. Freedom is being able to play, laugh, and hold them lightly. And the greatest treasure is not luxury, but freedom. The world is unable to provide it. You are the only one who can live it. The ability to sit quietly and feel whole is the ultimate luxury, not chrome and leather. You are richer than kings if you can sit by yourself and be happy. You are operating the rarest automobile of all, the vehicle of awareness, while taking a leisurely stroll and having a discussion without interruptions. Furthermore, awareness doesn't deteriorate, rust, or require an upgrade. It is always available and cost-free. No one is able to purchase or sell that luxury. Therefore, the question might not be how to purchase the priciest vehicle, but rather how to enjoy life in general. Because life goes on even after roads end and cars break. The real journey is in awareness rather than on asphalt. In that way, every breath, every laugh, and every stride all contribute to the grand adventure. Although it may improve the trip, the car itself is not the trip. The individual who understands this is wealthier than everyone else who bases their value on the size of his garage. Allow me to conclude with one more absurdity. You will constantly feel impoverished if you hold on to your fortune. But riches comes to you organically if you can let it go. Why? Because people are drawn to persons who exude freedom rather than despair. Whereas an empty man repels abundance, a whole man draws it. This is the secret that is behind wealth and happiness. They are not objectives to be pursued, but rather results of living deeply. You stop asking the car to make you happy after you witness this. The automobile is happier because of you. The most costly car won't make you happy, so keep that in mind. However, this will allow you to see clearly, be present, and live freely. If an automobile appears, use it as a tool, a toy, or a fleeting pleasure. Nothing is lost if it doesn't, because understanding, love, and the ability to live without clinging are now the genuine luxury. It is impossible to buy, drive, or park happiness. You can only live it, and it is unfathomable wealth. That's the only kind of richness that lasts.